Hello, and welcome to our weekly LinkedIn Live leadership series, Voices of Leadership. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Kathy Eastwood, your host and the founder and CEO of E equals Y. Each week, we explore the fascinating world of leadership, featuring voices from various generations, industries, and backgrounds. A team's job is to deliver business results. It's the role of the leader to empower, inspire, and enable the people and the team to deliver on those results. And there's a repeatable formula, there's a pattern that drives success. We call it the E3 leadership code: express plus engage plus execute, powered by emotions. However, how each leader chooses to show up and apply those different elements of the code is unique. And because there's no one way to lead. And that's why we love having this show, so that we can highlight different leaders and how they show up. So please take a moment to let us know where you're calling in from, where you're dialing in from. Please open up with questions. If you have any, we will be happy to take them. So with that, let me introduce our guest today. He is someone that I was instantly drawn to, and not just for his global vision, but for his belief that business success really does start with people. And you know I'm very passionate about that. So our guest is Jean-Christian Rindoni, is the founder and CEO of Symbiosis Infinity Group, a purpose-driven company helping businesses worldwide build circular and sustainable supply chains, from textile recycling across Africa to ethical innovation partnerships that uplift communities. His work shows that when you treat your people well, they treat their customers well, and that's where real sustainability begins. That's something very dear to my heart. So, what I love about Jean-Christian's leadership is how deeply it's rooted in humanity and shared prosperity. He isn't waiting for someone else to solve the problem, he's building the systems that make it possible. So, Jean-Christian, thank you so much for joining us. I've, kind of just given a little bit of a background of you. Why don't you share with our audience, what's your journey been? How did you get here, and what are you really focused on?
Well, thank you, Katie, first for having me. It's really a pleasure. I know we've been in touch since the beginning of my journey, this conscious business growth space. And I remember the first time we first met and we kept in touch. So I'm very happy that, I'm here today. And thank you again for inviting me. Well, regarding my journey, it's been nothing but short of a lot of, I would say, growth. First of all, I think it all started with my personal growth and the finding of my purpose. So, sometimes God or the universe or whatever people believe in puts you in situations where there's no way out. You just have to stop looking outwards and start looking inwards and figure out what is your purpose in life and how you can create more well-being at all level, the people around you, but also in the world as a global scope. So for me, it really started at the beginning of this year. Originally, I'm an international business development consultant. I've been doing projects in 30 plus countries around the globe, ranging from Brazil to Nigeria to Saudi Arabia, Malaysia. And this gave me a lot of global perspective about the business relationship between suppliers and between companies in different countries, specifically the dynamics between developed markets and developing markets. I had been carrying out negotiations in very luxurious boardroom with multinational companies in Europe, or I was also negotiating contracts with suppliers in China, in small villages, on plastic chairs, having some tea. So I really understood both worlds, and I realized that there was a gap in the way business was done in terms of the human factor. Taking into consideration that the supplier or the companies is not just a company, that behind that, beyond that, there are people, there are families, there are entire communities that are actually very much dependent on the business success of these companies. And it really made me rethink my purpose as well. And this came along with a spiritual journey that I started now. We were just talking about it back a year ago. And that really drove me towards my path of purpose and commitment to creating business that's a force for good. So this is nothing new because, of course, conscious capitalism has been here for decades, and we have pioneers like the Honorable John Mackey, for example, from Whole Foods, that really led the movement, and other companies along the way. Uh, I we came also to a point where ESG and sustainability has been a lot at the forefront of company strategy. However, what I've noticed since I got into this space is that there is a lot of talks. Yes, everybody's talking, everybody's putting charts, everybody's ticking boxes, but beyond that, what do we do to have a really practical approach to really impact not only the people that work within the companies, but the people that work or thrive around these companies, all these communities that are basically barely making a living and a sustainable life because of the unequitable and unethical ways of doing business. So I took my purpose, I took my passion, and I took my skills, and I combined everything together to create Symbiosis Infinity Group with the amazing help of both our mentor, I think Terry
Yep,
Maxwell,
absolutely.
and Thomas Eckschmidt as well from the Conscious Business Network. So a big thank you again for both of these personalities that have really shaped my vision into a business model. And here we are today. We came on live in May, June, and as I always say, when your heart is in the right place, and when you are aligned between your heart and your mind and your purpose, then the universe brings you the people and the circumstances that you need. And this is what happened to us. And I was really blessed, and I've been very blessed and grateful to be connected with wonderful people all over the world. And the space that we connected in mostly is the textile industry. It all came like that naturally. And here, a big shout out to Raoul Dancy, my partner in crime, my brother from another mother, and Churching Young from CEO and founder of We Disrupt Agency, who's a great woman that's doing amazing things around the fashion circularity and has a lot of brilliant ideas. So we have been lucky enough to be connected to all these people and really create synergies to start doing projects around circularity and sustainability in the fashion industry. Also working on big scale projects. I mean, starting to do work on big scale projects to alleviate some huge environmental and societal issues, like, for example, in the Atacama Desert in Chile, where we cooperate with our good friend Christian. A big shout out to Christian as well, that we'll meet again next week, because these are at the core of what we want to do at SIG. These are at the core of the people that we want to give the opportunity to really have a better life. Because I personally believe that when you hear stories like in the Atacama Desert, where Christian was, and he related this story to us a week ago, it's a 20 kilometer by 20 kilometer textile landfill, 400 square kilometer of textile landfill in an area of the world that is supposed to be the nicest desert in the world. So not just talking about the environmental issue here, but he was relating to us that he saw orphan kids living there on pile of textile. How is it possible that in 2025 we are all aware of what is going on, and that things are done, but not scalable things? So we absolutely need to, first of all, take what's working and scale it, get the proper partners, get the proper financing, and get the proper stakeholders to be able to really scale what is already existing, while bringing additional solutions to really create a comprehensive um, ecosystem to really be able to alleviate this kind of human and environmental issues. And again, I will insist on the human issue, because in the society we live in, at the age we live in 2025, with all the wealth that's around the world, with all the technology available, there is no way that in Chile or elsewhere in the world kids are being abandoned and live by themselves in landfills. We're all mothers and fathers, right? We
Hmm.
all have kids. So, when he told me this story, I saw my kids living like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we have to do something about it. And not to diss the governments, but if you wait for the governments, you're going to wait forever. I think there's a lot of people that want to do good within the governments, but it's just like such a heavy machine to move forward that it's very difficult. So we as businesses, whether big or small, we have the capability and we have the knowledge to be able to change this through conscious business growth, through implementing circular models that have an aim as a mission sustainability of the environment, uh, equity in terms of economic opportunities, and poverty alleviation, especially when it comes to the minority and people that are in such a situation, such as children. So the passion that I personally have for this kind of topics is really deeply rooted in my healing journey, in my spiritual growth. And I believe that everyone that gets in this conscious space needs to first go inward. And it is, I would say, not always a pleasant journey to have, because change is painful, growth is painful, but what waits for you on the other side is something that no money can buy. It's a purpose and a self-fulfillment and self-love. And that's very important.
I love it. There's so much in there to unpack because I mean, the whole concept of starting with purpose is so powerful for everything. Like I talk to a lot of people and I'm sure you run into it is they feel helpless, right? Like I don't like what's going on, but this is really hard to do and it's impossible. And I think a lot of people come at these problems and say, why do I even bother? But with the work that you've done of going inward, right, and doing that self reflection and understanding your purpose is what drives us.
Absolutely.
And purpose is what really fuels others. So, what was that journey like for you to know to suddenly realize that you wanted to turn inwards and really learn about yourself?
Well, to get very up close and and personal, I had a big change in my personal life. Last year, I think it was October, yeah, October, November last year, right at this period as we were talking about, because I realized that I hadn't done enough work on myself, and that I was focusing more on the external, on the materialistic aspect of my life, of having the nice house, having the nice wife, having the nice car, having the beautiful children, going golfing, doing this. And in essence, this was all nice and I really enjoyed my life. But during this wonderful journey that I had and wonderful life, I realized that something was missing inside and that my balance was not okay. That I was not really balanced emotionally and mentally because of the lack of work that I didn't do at the soul level and at the mind level, and really getting to know myself better and getting to know my true self, not the self that you project outwards, not the self that mother or father wants, not the self that your kids want to be, but your true self, the self that you spend all your life with, and going inward, doing a soul kind of retrieval work and understanding, my conscious mind and my subconscious mind, as well as my spiritual side, and embracing all that so that I could find the balance between my shadow side and my light side, and embracing all of this, understanding that it's never black or it's never white. You have to accept the duality of who you are in order for you to feel complete and have a complete integration of your whole being. And once this complete integration of your whole being is more or less done, because I'm not sure if it's always done, then you feel really a sense of alignment. And this sense of alignment brings you a sense of Awareness, a sense of awareness that brings you a different perspective in life and says, whatever life is. Things are what they are. Nothing is good, nothing is bad. And once you're emotionally and mentally and spiritually balanced, then your purpose becomes clearer because your higher self or the universe or God, again, whatever people believe in, brings you this knowledge inside of you, and you don't have to think about it. It's not a question of thinking, it's a question of filling it in your heart and filling it in the soul. And again, I used to be very analytical, and I still am in a way, but I now understood that nothing is meant to be controlled. Not everything is meant to be controlled. The things that you can control, you just control. The things that you cannot control, you just let go. And it's once you let go that actually the magic happens.
I love that. And so you reminded me of a story like back in my past where I was trying to figure out was next, right? You're doing one of those soul searching. I had left corporate America, and I'm trying to be everything for everyone. I'm casting this wide net. I'm like, oh, I can do it all. What do you need me to do? And yes, and you're trying to satisfy. And then all of a sudden I'm like, what would I love? And
Exactly.
when you come in and you focus on yourself and what you would love, that word alignment that you got, just all of a sudden my net became very tightened. And
Yeah.
it was much easier. Like all of a sudden my resume just boop, it wrote itself, because then I could be like, this is what I would love, this is what I want. And you're gonna attract some people and some people are not gonna get on board, but they're self-selecting out, right?
Yeah.
Make your
Yeah.
job easier. All right, so sense of purpose. You know who you are, you know what you're doing, and you know what you want to do for the world and for business. So you talked about this circular model, and I love this concept. Can you share with the audience what that really means of bringing it in a bit more detail? Because you're thinking about everyone in this ecosystem and how it
Yes.
all comes together.
Yeah, thank you for this great question. I think it's very important to first of all define a little bit what it means to be, to have a circular economy. Well, a circular economy, by definition, it's become a circle. So we have been, living in a kind of a linear business model where everything, every transaction is just one way or another. It's a win lose, a win win, a loss loss, a win loss, right? And I think that over the past, I would say 10, really 10 good years now, there is this, notion of circularity where we don't see business transaction as linear, but we see business transaction as circular because there are way more stakeholders in a business relation than we think about. So if we give an example of a company, I would say that I always take this example: the company that produces chocolate cookies in the U.S. And a supplier of cacao in Brazil. So we tended to think that, okay, so we're going to buy from this supplier, and we're going to squeeze the price, and we're going to have very high quality standards, and they're going to make very thin, razor thin margin, but that's okay because what we want is to sell our cookies with the maximum profit, right? So we have to buy the cacao and the very minimum price. Well, we realized over the past 10 years that this model is not working anymore, that this model is obsolete, and that first of all, there's not just two stakeholders here, but there's a multitude of stakeholders. On the chocolate cookie factory side, there is the suppliers, there is the environment, there is the employees, there is the government, there is so many people around. And for the Brazilian cacao producer, for example, it's communities, it's the environment, it's local government, it's municipalities, it's healthcare, it's education, it's uh, everything. And here we can see that if we put the right systems in place, where by which we help with the negotiations and the way the business is processed to really integrate all these stakeholders to benefit with equity and equitability, then it really creates a more sustainable way of doing business. So this kept in mind, when I started Symbiosis Infinity Group, I had this circularity in mind, but I didn't call it circularity because I was new in this space. But thanks to Thomas Eckschmidt again, and his great course on conscious business growth. There is the biggest network of conscious business growth advisors in the world, and for everyone that's in this space, I highly recommend to get in touch with Thomas Eckschmidt. Get in touch with me, and I can get you in touch with Thomas. Uh, he taught us how to really analyze the stakeholders and the stakeholder mapping and what would can be the impact according to the goal that one company has. So according to that, I came up with what we call the Symbiosis Infinity Loop. And the Symbiosis Infinity Loop is very simple. It is establish your goals as a company, uh, utilize the negotiations that you have and the supply chain links that you have with some of your key suppliers in order to be able to create shared value along the supply chain. What does that do? So that creates innovation. That creates innovation and off the ground innovation. We always say that there's a lot of millions and millions spent on any kind of innovation in the world. But the real innovation can be done with very little money, with very little technical assistance, because the knowledge and the passion of the people that are at the root and at the core of what they do in developed markets is equal to none. And there's no amount of money, there's no amount of R&D that you can spend that will equal to that. However, these people, these companies, they don't have the resources because they are being squeezed by companies that have that do not have this principle in mind. And this is where we come in and teach companies how to do that, because it's going to get back to them. So this innovation through co-shared value creation is going back to them, because the companies that help create that, they have a comparative advantage to be on the market with a product that's a total innovation with a preferential pricing, and they have exclusivity. So guess what that does? That increase your customer base, that increase your profit, and that increase your customer loyalty because no one else has it, right? So um, this said, there is also the community aspect that we deal with. And here we know that there are thousands, if not millions, of people that are thriving thanks to the community, thanks to the companies that are actually uh, an integral part of the business ecosystem. And here we teach companies as well how to give back to these communities to empower them in order for them to have a better lifestyle and a better chance of accessing housing, education, and health. And what does that in return for the company that produces the chocolate cookie? Then they have a story to tell, and it's no longer selling a cookie. People are not buying just a cookie; they're buying a story. They're buying their ticket to improving the life of thousands of people through a circular program, through a loop that enables everyone to thrive. No one loses, no one, and everyone wins. And it's based on fair principle of being a good business person, a good human, and at the same time having everybody benefit from it.
Yeah, I love that. I love the infinity loop because it's ongoing, and I often refer to it as the virtuous cycle. Once you can get the cycle running, right, it's self-fulfilling. It just keeps going and going.
Exactly.
Now, unfortunately, and as you know this, and this is where I think you come in and help companies, we tend to come in one piece of that chain, right? And by the way,
Mhm.
this isn't just supply chain. This is all businesses looking at all of their stakeholders on whatever they're doing. How do you help companies think about it? Because you have to get out of this vicious cycle, right? Because that vicious cycle is what's causing them to make linear decisions or one-offs, and they're like, I got to get this right. Or how do you
Yeah.
bring them out of that vicious cycle to see the bigger picture? Because you need everyone working together in this scenario.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a very good question. I personally believe that at the core, a human being is good, and that we all strive for the same thing. Whether you live in in Venezuela, you live in Chicago or in Toronto or in Paris. Everyone, what do we want? We just want to be happy. We just want to have, a house, a nice house, food on our table, education for our kids, healthcare, and everything that goes with having a decent standard of life. So if you take this principle that human beings thrive, we all thrive for the same thing, and we are good, then business is done by who? Well, hopefully not by AI completely anytime soon, but by people. And people are inherently good. We just have to, make them realize that. And we just have to, really take out the best in people and have them see the bigger picture. So, of course, this is kind of sign of sound idealistic. But what we do is first we do some conscious leadership evaluation. That means what is your style of leadership? How do you lead how do you lead your company, your employees? And then after we go into the more immediate stakeholders from employees to suppliers. And then we have a clear indication of the values. And here, I would like to give a big shout out to Eva Anderson and the Value Based Institute that we are so happy, both of us, to cooperate with. It's please check them out. A wonderful organization, because values are at the core of who we are as humans. And of course, as a human being, if you do not have the right values for yourself, how can you show up properly in the world? But also, how can you show up as a business, as a leader, not only inside the company, but also outside the company? So, to cut a long story short, I think that people are good and they want to do good. They just don't realize how, or they don't know how to do it. And sometimes we feel like it's overwhelming. Oh my God, it's such a big task. Oh my God, yeah, we want to do something good around us, but we don't know how to. Well, this is where we come in. And usually what we do is you're already doing something good. A lot of companies are doing great stuff. They just don't know how to communicate it. And the communication, the branding around what you do good is incredibly powerful to change the direction of your company and to have, I would say, a really deep impact at one of the stakeholders for a company that's the most important, and it's the consumer. If your customers know what you do, if your customers know, if you're helping a community there or if you're contributing to the environment, well, guess what? This is called emotional buying. People don't buy products anymore. This is long gone. The 80s and 90s and maybe 2000s, yeah, people were just mass consuming, buying products no matter what. We needed to consume. Now there's more of I would say, a conscious type of consumers, and the new generations are going to be more and more conscious about what they consume, what they buy, why they buy it, what is the reason why they buy the product, and the big why is always the most important topic. Why do you do? Why do you do what you do? Why is your company existing? What purpose do you serve? And why are your customers buying your product? When you buy a phone, yeah, you buy a phone. But when you buy something from Patagonia or when you go shopping at Whole Food, you just don't buy products. You buy because there's a promise that the company is dedicated to the well-being and of their stakeholders, whether it is their employees, whether it is the consumers, whether it is the environment. But there is a big why behind. And what we teach is we teach people how to find out their big why, to really create in their core as leaders and as beings, as human beings, to really embrace their values, define their values, embrace them, define their sustainability and conscious growth goals, and move them forward through a roadmap that is according to not only their internal business goals, but also their goals for impact. Because let's not forget, companies are here to make money, and it's money is a necessity. I compare that to breathing for a human
Right.
being. So we need to breathe to live, but is our purpose breathing? No, because if our purpose would be breathing, we would just be standing on a chair and just breathing the whole day without doing anything. Sorry, I have to move because I have
Yep, yep.
the sunshine on my face. Luckily here in Portugal, it's still very much a sunny day. So same thing for money, same thing with money for companies. So yeah, money is important, but there are so many more ethical and sustainable models to even make more money. And if you look at the numbers in terms of financial compensation, yeah, more on them. It takes a little bit more time to generate more revenue and more profit through these models, but profit increased 20 to 30%, if not more, on the midterm. And this is something that really a few people know about.
Yeah, no, I'm with you because I talk about it as the leadership profit chain by Ken Blanchard talked about this years ago. Focus on your people. They then take care of your customers, and then your customers continue to buy more, they refer more, right? And that is how you drive the profit up. It's just so many people are profit first, but then you get into this vicious cycle because you miss a number, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can't afford this, and it becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy in the negative way. And we need
Yeah,
to keep helping people to understand that it starts with the values. I mean, this is where
yeah.
you and I are so aligned in our thinking and how we go about that. So when Ralph had a question here, and when it comes to some of the inequities of the supply chain, is it just a money thing typically, and is it helping people come back to that human side first? Is that the conversations you're really able to have to help them come over the resistance?
Um, I would say it's neither or, uh, because people have to, like, companies and leaders have to realize that when you do good, you get more, and it's very simple. And I don't have the stats in mind, and everybody can find the stats. I think there's a, yeah, I don't remember the name of the book, but um, it's proven that when you do good as a company, when utilize the conscious business growth model and put sustainability and impact at the core of your purpose of why you do what you do, then the financial rewards are bigger. So yes, I mean, the human factor is very important, but I think that people need to realize that the whole world is interconnected now. There is no me, I want to gain more because I don't care about my neighbor. The world never worked like that, and it doesn't work like that even less today. Why? Because we're more and more connected. All the economies are more and more connected. All the companies are more and more connected, and we as human beings, we are all connected to one another, spiritually, first of all, but also because we are part of an ecosystem that enables us to create transactional value for one another. And when this transactional value is combined with a positive impact because it's done in a conscious way, then it really creates even more value and more financial rewards and more better financial results for companies. And you have companies that have been doing so for 20, 30 years. I always take the example of, yeah, Patagonia, for example, or World Food. Look how World Food is doing. They've been expanding over the past 10 years or 20 years. They've been expanding everywhere. Why? Because they put their employees at the core of their business, because they treat their suppliers like partners, not like suppliers, because they understood that sometimes less is more. And asking for less from your supplier, for example, in terms of, we're not going to drag you into a financial constraints, and we're going to kind of understanding and discussing and communicating, okay, this is the price we want, and this is the price that you want. What is going to take to be able to find this right balance so that both parties can thrive, and that if your supplier thrives, then he's able to service you better, is able to innovate, is able to invest in the community, is able to create more value for his employees, so his employees are going to be happier, they're going to make a better job, and they're going to have better operational results. And it's one layer after the other, but we have to start somewhere. And sometimes I always say, you don't need millions to change the world. What you need is your heart, it's your passion, and people and connections that believe in the same idea as you, that have the same mindset and the same goal. And as I said at the beginning of our discussion, when your heart and mind are in alignment, when you are aligned with your purpose, and when you're balanced as a human being and as a soul being, everything comes to you. Of course, with work, but everything comes to you. And when you learn how to let go, everything comes to you. You just have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe that each and every one of us, no matter how small of a contribution, it all starts with a small step. You don't need to go and spend millions. Just start by tomorrow seeing someone on the street, help this person that cannot carry a bag, someone that needs a little push with their car, help like that, because it all starts like that. It all starts with your mind switching to, oh yeah, I did that, how do I feel? Wow, dopamine, I feel good, I want more of this. Why? Because serving people makes you feel good. And because as human beings, I think that our core mission in life is to serve one another. And once we realize that, it becomes flawless, effortless, and it becomes your purpose.
I love that. And, I have a saying that logic doesn't move people, emotions do, right? And it's your heart that does. That's why you want to get on board. It's why you need to find your people. When I found the conscious business world, right, I'm like, I'm not alone. I have people out there. And,
Yeah.
meeting yourself, meeting Terry in the group, and Ava and the Value Institute, there is a lot of people believing in all this. And it really starts with self reflection, knowing yourself. And I loved everything that you shared here. And I hope this has been real inspiration for everyone that's on the call to do that self reflection, to know who you are and what your purpose is. So, if you had one piece of advice to leave our leaders with and our audience today, what would it be?
One piece of advice, I believe that take your time to know yourself. First of all, take your time to really know yourself. Spend more time in mindfulness, presence, and silence. This will allow your your soul to really find its calling. And I don't mean to sound woohoo here and people that don't believe in spirituality or anything like that. But this is not just spiritual. I would say I call it spiritual science because it's science.
I
it's
love that.
it's also it's science. It's spirituality and science. And just spend time really getting to know what you want for yourself, first of all, because it all starts with you. If you don't start with you, then nothing comes out of this. It all starts with you. What you want to do for yourself, what is your purpose in life. Take as much time as needed. Don't listen to your mind, listen to your soul, listen to your heart, because the mind tricks you all the time and it will keep we're talking about how we get programmed with the subconscious mind. Listen to your heart, do a lot of mindfulness activity, a lot of presence, a lot of awareness activity, and really find out what it is that you want for you and how you can contribute to the world, no matter how small. Don't be afraid of having small steps. Whether you're a founder with a small business or a big company, or even an individual at your own level, it all starts with you stepping outward to do a little good one bits at a time. But I insist on the fact that until you know yourself, and until you know the inner work that aligns your alignment and full self presence and awareness, then you will always have to come back to this. So, yes, it's a lot of work. Yes, it's a lot of changes. Yeah, growing is painful, growing is demanding. But if you do the work on yourself at the beginning, it saves you a lot of time afterwards. And trust me, I've been there because I didn't do it at the beginning. And I had to go back to the drawing board and do this for me. And this is what I did. And now I can see the switch not only within me, but also see the switch outside of me, because your external environment, once again, is a reflection of your internal state. And once you're aligned with presence and mindfulness, and a heart to mind coherence that's almost perfect, because I don't know if it can be perfect, then everything unfolds. So the journey starts now. Don't wait for tomorrow. And as I said, people say, "Oh, I'll start tomorrow." The journey starts today. Start by, doing a walk in nature. Start by doing a meditation practice. Start by spending just 10 minutes in silence without any disruption. And you will see, and you do this day by day, you will see the difference. And this will bring out whatever has always been inside of you, but silenced by the noise of our world.
Well said. Thank you for all of that. Jean-Christian, thank you so much for joining us
Thank you so
today.
much. I really appreciate it.
And if you've enjoyed this conversation, we're going to be continuing the conversation on Monday, right? We're going to
Yes.
switch seats.
Yes.
So
Yes.
come join us. We'll put the link in the chat. But it's such a pleasure to talk to other people. And like I said, when you find your people, it brightens your day, your step, because when you live through your values, through what you believe, life, everything aligns, and it's a lot easier and it's more beautiful.
Enough
So
said.
thank you so much for
Thank
all
you.
you're
Thank you so
doing.
much.
Appreciate it. And thank you to the audience for joining us. Have a
Thank you,
great
everybody.
weekend.
Have a great weekend. Take
Thank
care. Bye.